the Switch is mid. The thing about handhelds, Nintendo is one of the first companies that come to mind. The first handheld being the Game & Watch had a LED screen similar to a calculator's, and their newest handheld being the Nintendo Switch OLED model, which is definitely a massive improvement from what we've been getting from the past. But even though with all of this, I feel like there was one handheld that was always undermined and looked over. This system is called 3DS. The 3DS was released in 2011. It was similar to a DS, although this time it would have a circle pad, which would allow 8 different types of movements in games, and it would also have 3D graphics. This allowed a lot more pop-ups to be made for the games, not like the ads, but rather in-your-face gameplay. Because of this, it was pretty interesting to a lot of people. But even though because of all of this, even including its great game library, which at the start was pretty minimalistic, it's clear to see why, especially considering the price point, which was $250, it didn't sell well. Although after this, and after the game library increased in quality significantly, Nintendo decided that it would be best to decrease the price to about $170. And if you bought the Nintendo 3DS before it was $250, or when it was $250, they would give you some extra bonus content on that 3DS. So, because of this, people thought, why not just buy some of the expensive ones so you can get some nice bonus content. But eventually, the price cut did happen, and the sales actually went up pretty well. About a year later, Nintendo realized that for the 3DS to continue, it would have to be bigger and better. And that's why Nintendo made the Nintendo 3DS XL. Nintendo 3DS XL was a much more bigger system, but that had one design issue, and that was, well, it felt kind of cheap. The original 3DS had this nice premium feel, like it was futuristic and high-tech for its time, but the Nintendo 3DS XL, it just used plastic. Even though because of this, it still was an amazing system. This was personally the system I had, which was a black Nintendo 3DS XL, and I remember having a lot of fun times on it. It's actually the first system I collected for, and I think it got around 20-something games for it, which was just when occasionally my parents would take me to GameStop and tell me pick something. Anyways, so a couple years later, Nintendo decided, since 3D graphics aren't really that good for younger kids, that it'd be best to get make a system more targeted to the more poorer people and also the more younger audience, which is why Nintendo decided to make the Nintendo 2DS. The 2DS was basically a 3DS, just worse in every single way. It was cheaper and it was driven to 7-year-olds, which are definitely the most disgusting creatures I've ever seen in my life. Take it from me, I have a brother. Anyways, it would basically run the same thing like a 3DS, although it did have a comfortable design. I wouldn't know this just from what I heard. Also, Amazon reviews and Craigslist deals. Because of this, it actually sold pretty well, and it was a great, my first handheld toy, if you will. But eventually, Nintendo decided it's time that we fix a massive issue. You see, 3D graphics was always its main gimmick, but what's a gimmick if it isn't good enough? See, the problem 3DS and 3DS XL had was it was lacking face tracking. Face tracking is basically where the 3D won't blur up if you tilt it even a little bit. Kind of like how your phone screen will tilt a whole 180 degrees if you tilt it even the slightest manner. Anyways, because of this, in 2015, Nintendo decided to release the new Nintendo 3DS. This would also come with the new Nintendo 3DS XL. Both of these, which were massively impressive for its time, sold significantly. The 3DS XL, the new one, was slightly larger than slightly larger, I'm pretty sure. And the other model, being the 3DS, the new 3DS, was the same size. That it was vice versa. Anyways, so these systems would have a feature called face tracking, which would allow the new models to not get blurred up. Also, they would have a more slicker design. The 3DS, the new Nintendo 3DS, would have changeable faceplates, while the XL model would have a more glossy design, which looked much more sleeker and better compared to the original 3DS XL. They had some games that were unique to the system, but mostly it was just you can play your older games for the 3DS or DS on a better system. One thing a lot of people didn't like about the DS backwards compatibility with 3DS was the main problem that 3DS really wasn't meant, well, for the circle pad, it really wasn't meant for DS games. Thankfully, there was a D-pad, but it was on the bottom, so if you had big hands, you'd kind of be in an uncomfortable position, but mostly it played decently. I do remember playing New Super Mario Bros. U on it, and that was pretty fun. Mostly, the 3DS XL, the original model. I never had the new ones, but I do want to get them because I want to get the Galaxy Edition because I think that looks pretty cool. Because I do miss having the 3DS because I sold it so I can get Animal Crossing New Horizons and a couple other things, which I hate myself for because Animal Crossing New Horizons sucks ass, and I will stand by that opinion for the rest of my damn life until Nintendo proves me otherwise. Anyways, I do want to get another one, but there was a time where I almost got a better model. The new 2DS XL, which was released in 2017, put a closure to the Nintendo 3DS bloodline. This cousin, I guess you can call it, of the 3DS, was basically everything the new 3DS had, except it was in the 2D design. Also, it was clamshell, so it was a little more like two rectangles instead of, two squares, but, it works hand in hand. The new 2DS, I don't think had its own separate games, since, 2DS was mostly just for the younger kids, and I feel like it is good that they made a new model for the younger kids who do want to play like a 3DS or 2DS, but don't want to damage their eyes because they're tuning on to actually look at 3D graphics. So I think like this is an efficient way for them to introduce new models to them. Also, something funny about the new models, they all came with C-sticks, which looked like an extra nipple for the 3DS. Don't ask why. They also had 4 trigger buttons on the back instead of traditional 2, which means they're just upping a class every single time. The Nintendo 3DS game library is naturally the next thing we'll talk about, and will definitely be the last, because, well, I don't really know anything else to talk about, because most of this video is just me rubbing the cock of the 3DS, but, whatever. So, the game library for the 3DS is pretty good. You got the 3DS library, and then you got the original DS library, so all in all, you have hundreds of games to play. If you have a friend and they tell you the DS game library is better than the 3DS game library, or if you want to play games, like actually want to play good games, and want to get your money's worth to play most games, then you should buy a DS. So I prefer across the face. Even though 3DSs are more expensive, you have a larger game library. You have the original DS games, and then you have some. So I don't know why most people wouldn't just want to buy the 3DS and save up the extra couple dollars. But, talking about the 3DS library, there was a bunch of good games like 3D Land, Super Mario Maker, Animal Crossing New Leaf, and a couple more, like Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, Pokemon X and Y, Pokemon Sun and Moon, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, and a couple more Pokemon games like Pokemon Rumble, stuff like that. Basically, a lot of Pokemon. But yeah, base system. It had this game called Face Raiders instantly downloaded on it, which was nice. You also had a QR code scanner, I think it was called that, or was something. You'd basically scan the QR cards, yeah, it was QR cards or something. You scan these cards, and you could, just look at the characters on the cards. I never had them. I want to get a 3DS and buy them so I can see how it looks, because I knew like when I had my 3DS XL, I could buy them separately. I didn't have to buy an entire new 3DS to get it. I remember playing a lot of games. There was actually a lot of decent third-party games like Lego Ninjago. I know it sounds dumb, but I actually played that game a lot, and it isn't the worst. I'm gonna say this: if you have a third-party game on the Wii, I can guarantee you it's gonna be 1,000 times worse than any third-party game on anything else. Okay, the Wii third-party library sucks ass. So if you like the Wii third-party library, then there's no reason why you shouldn't play the Nintendo 3DS third-party library. But the Nintendo 3DS did have a couple bad games. Which of these I do not know about because I don't think it does have bad games, but we're just going to say, just to make sure I don't upset anyone because I didn't talk about the bad stuff, that the Nintendo 3DS definitely, absolutely, totally had some bad games that I absolutely, definitely, totally do know about, and I will definitely, absolutely talk about later on. And maybe in another video, give you next week, see what happens. So yeah, I feel like this kind of like wraps it up for this video. How long is this? Yeah, okay, 10 minutes. This looks sketchy, but I'm not monetized, so like I gotta pass on that. Anyways, I'm sorry I missed Monday this week. My little brother came over, so I was just kind of like hanging out with him. Didn't really have the time to go into my closet and record a stupid ass video, then edit that stupid ass video. But I can guarantee you this will be released on Friday, which it's Thursday today, so that means tomorrow I'm gonna have to edit and make a thumbnail, but that shouldn't take too long. I don't have really anything to do. It's Friday, so I'm gonna assign homework or anything. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. If you want to like and subscribe, do so. I really don't give a shit. And bye.